Hello, my name's Joey and welcome to my tour of props and artifacts. Now today it's going to be historical artifacts, namely it's going to be my combat helmet collection, my historical helmets basically. I used to have a massive collection. I think my collection used to be about 40 plus helmets, and then when I moved I literally downscaled it to I think possibly about 18 maybe. I mean, you'll get to the end of this video and be able to count them one by one. Yes, so I just literally got them down to my favourite ones. So let's begin with this World War I German helmet. It's in a relic condition, and the story behind this is it's a 1916 German helmet, and it came from France apparently. And the person who found this, he found this in somebody's garden, upside down as a flower pot. So of course he either asked to buy it or maybe they gave it to him. It does have a few stress cracks in it from, I imagine, being underground, the rust, the helmet itself rusting away. And what's quite interesting about this is the inside is covered in a very thin layer of cement. So I like to think of some Frenchmen, maybe after World War I, or maybe even World War II, using this as a cement mixer. So that's that. That's the 1916 German helmet in relic condition. Yes, just double checking that is in fact 1916. So I'm just going to do these as they come. Now we have an American M1 helmet. This is from 1975, I think. I think this one dates from 1975. Let's have a look, because I've written all this kind of stuff in here. Yes, 27th of October, 1972. It's got a P strap. It's got a P stamped on the strap there, which means it's after 1969. So 1972. Yes, 1972. So it's Vietnam era. I'm not going to say it was used in Vietnam. There are slight traces of the Vietnam very light green paint on the inside of the helmet when this liner pops out. And the helmet cover itself, I found out recently today, is from 1969, but they didn't really more or less come about until after the Vietnam War. So this helmet cover is usually known as a post-Vietnam helmet cover. It's similar to the woodland camouflage pattern, but it's different. And this helmet itself, on the actual helmet shell, the actual metal of the helmet shell, has quite a lot of graffiti on there. And literally just to save me taking the cover off. So on the front we've got "Kill Thy Enemy" painted on there. It's very, very faded, very, very faint. Either side of the helmet we've got "Brat 1. The top of it has a target, and there is many indentations on the top of the helmet, which of course is where these helmets had a multitude of use. When you took the liner on the inside out, you could use the steel pot itself to make soup or banging the tent pegs of your camp. So this has a lot of dents on the inside where it literally has been used as a hammer. And on the inside is a name called Mattis, if that's how you pronounce it, but it's in exactly the same text as all this painting, so that's quite interesting as well. So yeah, this is a 1970s helmet, and it's more fitting that it's got the kind of technically 1969 post-Vietnam War helmet cover. I don't think I've written the heat stamp on the inside of it. No, oh well, I think I'm doing that. We've got a World War II British helmet here, but it's made of Bakelite, and these were made for air raid wardens and munitions factory workers, and it's basically, because it's not steel, it's not conductive, so it's a lot safer to be in environments where there might be low hanging wires, or you're going to get sparks when you're handling or making munitions, that kind of thing. So yes, this is a helmet made of Bakelite. Very, very big head, that one. So, needs no introduction. We have an M40 German helmet. Now, the unusual thing about this is the markings are not genuine, but when I rubbed there was a layer of grey paint over the top of this, so I rubbed it down, and this was the strongest layer of paint underneath. Underneath this again is black. Now there are slight faint markings of where there was possibly a band around it for camouflage, who knows. But underneath this eagle motif here were the very, very faint impressions of the arm of the eagle left. So if I was to take that off, that's a modern day one I've put on and weathered it. If I was to take that off, there would be very, very faint impression of the arm of the eagle underneath it. So it makes me believe that this grey was probably the original colour. Not really sure, but it's the only other colour under there. And what's very unusual about this helmet is it's a 1940. All the press studs are marked 1944. All these press studs are marked 1944. The helmet liner itself is a mystery because the aluminium liner is marked 1944, and it's made in Berlin as well. It's been made in Berlin, but what it's got here, it's got a press stud attachment on the leather liner, which allows for a slight change in head size. Now it doesn't look like this has been added or glued in later. It's definitely sewn in. So it's a very weird one. It's in 1940. All the fixings are 1944, including the helmet liner. But the helmet liner has press studs which allow for slightly bigger and smaller heads. And I've never seen that, and I can't find any indication of it on the internet. So that's quite a strange one. The leather strap is 1941. That's not original to the helmet, but that is original to, it is an original helmet strap. So here we have a helmet that I painted to look a bit Afrika Korps, which is of course when the Germans were in the desert. But the original history of this used to belong to my uncle and dad, and this was a German Navy hat. Originally, my dad thought this was the Afrika Korps helmet, so when I was young, I painted it to look like Afrika Korps. But it was then confirmed to me by my uncle that the other helmet I'm about to show you in a minute, that was actually the Afrika Korps helmet. So I've got a slight change of colours going on here. So this is an M1943 helmet. No, 1942. And how you can tell that it has a raised edge, whereas the M1935 helmet was bent under. And also it was less manufacturing to make this. So of course it's late war, and the German army are trying to cut back on procedures in making helmets. So this was a result of that. These are very unusual studs. They're a tiny stud with a washer. Now they are original to the helmet, and I have seen those sometimes on World War I German helmets. So I don't quite know what that is not very likely, yes, a cost-effective method going on there, but not the standard German helmet bolt, basically, to hold the liner in. That's the original liner itself. This is a strap I made for it because the original strap is here, but that was starting to get a little bit crusty. It's named on the inside of the helmet, but I really can't work out the name. It's very, very neat handwriting in there. Here we have technically the beginning of the German helmet for World War II in a sense. This is the M1935 helmet. This particular example was made in 1935. It has the early brass rivets holding the liner in. The liner is original, as is the helmet strap. What's unusual about this as well, it looks like a field repair because the helmet strap is literally put in with it's like a rivet pin. So you can't take this off basically. Once this is on, this strap's never coming off. So that's been riveted in. And this is the helmet that was Afrika Korps. Now my uncle says that he literally sanded all the paint down and got it back down to being chrome. Not chrome, but steel. So then, of course, I painted it like this to look like an original German helmet. But what I can see are slight traces of the Afrika Korps colour on the edges, around the bolts. So I might experiment putting some paint stripper on this and try and see what it actually looks like with this off. If not, I'll paint it Afrika Korps colours, but I'll leave a lot of the original colouring around the edges just so that we can see that. So here we go, this is the World War II British helmet. This one is stamped 1939, so literally on the outbreak of the war. It's also got somebody's initials painted in there, GHT, so that's quite nice. And with a lot of this kind of stuff, in fact, all these helmets are my size, but a lot of times I find that my head is coincidentally a World War II size head, so a lot of these helmets fit me absolutely perfectly like a glove. Here we have, as we'll all know from the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, an American helmet. I can never pronounce how you would say it, but it is known as the PASGT helmet. It's possibly from 1983. It's stamped 83, but apparently the stamping was kind of standard, I've heard, so it could be any date from then in theory. Made by the Gentex Corporation. There's not really much else to say about that. No, not much else to say about that. It wasn't, of course, it didn't come with this choc chip desert camouflage. I added that later. It came with woodland camouflage, and of course, there we go. We've got the old sun, wind, dust goggles, and they're dated 1974. And once again, fits me like a glove. I seem to have this strange common-sized head. So that's the helmet that literally placed the classic American M1 helmet from World War II, which stayed all the way up till about the mid-80s. Didn't change much. Here is an original M1 helmet. It's front seam, as people know. Basically, this little stainless steel rim around it. If it joins at the front, then it's 1941 up to about 1944. After 1944, they started joining them at the back. Now, this one's quite interesting. Of course, this is the M1 helmet. Now, what's interesting about this? It's a World War II model, but from what I've seen on the internet, this bright green is a Vietnam colour, and what this helmet has a very dark olive drab colour underneath this bright green. So it's more than likely this World War II issue helmet was reissued for Vietnam. Once again, it's got a lot of dents in the top where it's been used to bang down tent pegs and whatever else. And the inside of this, it's not a genuine World War II inside. This is a Belgian army insert from 1954. And yeah, so basically this is when the American M1 helmets after the war, some of them were sent out to Belgium. And so yeah, we have a genuine World War II top half, but the inside is Belgian. More than a passing resemblance to the World War II model, but of course this should all be khaki. Now we're going back to World War I Germany here. So this was the very first World War I German helmet I ever got. It is once again, I think, the 1916 model, yes. Now what's interesting about this is that it's stamped in Gothic on this side, W66, which relates to a German factory. I'm not going to bother and read that on the inside. But what's interesting about this, there is a hole punched here in the top. Now, it might be rust, but it's been brazed with brass to make the helmet solid. And after World War I, the German helmets were pretty much all, demolished so that Germany didn't have an army. And I've seen one picture from the disarmament of Germany, and there's literally a load of World War I German helmets with a pickaxe hole right the way through the top, literally pickaxe in the whole lot. So it makes me wonder whether or not this helmet was pickaxed. This is not an original cover, this is a reproduction film prop cover for the World War I German helmet. Anything else? No, pretty much in there just literally says that it was punched through after the war, possibly. And this is a reproduction liner as well. The chin strap apparently is genuine. I got that literally before the days of the internet. That was a mail order thing, so I believe it's genuine. They weren't cheap, but this was the early 90s, basically. You could buy these. I think my dad got it for me. What was lovely about that helmet as well, it was the very, very first German helmet I'd ever got, World War I. It was £115. And I said to the seller, I said, what's the lowest you'd go on that? And he said, 95. I jumped at it, Now this I love. This is a World War I Austro-Hungarian helmet. It is a German helmet in theory. And what's great about this is that literally after World War I, this was sent out to Afghanistan, to the Afghan army. And these two little hole punches here is when there was an Afghan badge, state badge on there. Now, I know a lot of soldiers bring these back from Afghanistan. This is my research I've found. And what I love about this is in such great condition, because you can imagine that in the 1920s it was sent out to Afghanistan, and obviously the weather out there is quite good. So you can imagine this is pretty much in a nice condition. This hasn't really changed much from World War One, which is what I love. The condition of it is beautiful. And I recently found out that the Austro-Hungarian helmets were painted like a light, sandy, browny colour, which almost looked yellowy, And what's great is that there are very, very faint traces of that yellow paint on all the little seams and areas. So that's really cool as well. The inside is completely reproduction. I've sent away for a reproduction strap as well. And what's good about this is there's no stampings in it whatsoever. And I have read that the Austro-Hungarian helmets very rarely did have stamps in them. This may have had a stamp in the actual roof of the helmet there, but it's so rusted. It's probably under the rust, but I don't really want to sand it to try and find out. But apparently it is common not to find any stampings in those helmets. We have a helmet from the film Saving Private Ryan. Now, these came from the Angels costume sale in 2009. And what's great about this helmet, it's reproduction 29th Infantry. This is one of the armies that stormed the beaches of Normandy. What's great about this is that not only is it a prop that was used in the film, it's a genuine American helmet, but it's actually front seam. So this is genuinely a World War II helmet that was used in many film productions and then might have gone to the beaches of Normandy in its life, but returned to Normandy for a film. And it has a lovely khaki inside, which at first I got excited about, thinking it was completely genuine in World War II. But this is actually nylon, so that's a shame. It's got the look, it's got the part, it looks the part, but it's not genuine. So the helmet itself is genuine with World War II, the steel part, but the liner is from God knows where. And so what's really nice about this is it's got a heat stamp in there, I think. Here we have again another Saving Private Ryan helmet, 2nd Infantry, I think. And I mean, it seems obvious because there's a big number 2 on there, but I'm not sure I'm saying it right, 2nd Infantry. And this, once again, is a front seam helmet, joins at the front, so makes this a genuine World War II model again. And what's interesting is that this comes from a company called ACAD, which is Academy Costumes, which provided the American side of Saving Private Ryan. And this comes from Angels and Burmans, which of course is the English side, the British side of the costume company. So what probably happened during the film, as with most film props, obviously they would have ordered thousands of these, so they wouldn't have worried about whose was who film prop wise. They probably would have counted up the numbers. Now these both came from the same sale. So what we've got is this both came from the British costume department. So they very likely ended up, after Saving Private Ryan, they just all got mixed up, and here we have the 2 different helmets from the 2 different companies, basically. One from America, one from Britain, both American helmets, both genuinely World War II. And, here we go. So this one, what I love about this helmet as well, it's heat stamped 857C, which is approximately March of May 1944. And what's quite interesting is both of these helmets have a hell of a lot of rust on the inside of them, which is literally from being on the beach of Normandy, getting rusty. And the heat stamp on that. Yes, what was very interesting about this is, it's almost like this paint on the inside might be the genuine World War II paint, because the heat stamp wasn't hidden very well. There wasn't many layers of paint to take off to find that heat stamp. Basically, if you don't know, heat stamp is the when the helmet is made, there's a series of stages it goes through, and the heat stamp is the just to show what stage that helmet is, and they're all individually numbered. Let's have a look at this one as well. No, this is it. Yeah, the heat stamp is too well hidden under this. This is quite a rusty version, and it's got they've both got stress cracks at the back where basically over time the metal's starting to split with pressure. getting almost to the end, we have a Vietnam era American M1 helmet. I'm not going to say this was used in Vietnam, but it's actually dated 31st of May 1967. The helmet cover apparently was used in Vietnam. Once again, this was before the days of the internet. This is when you had mail order, and so these items would appear in adverts, and you'd write away and they'd send you one. It's got written in pen AAAQ, which I used to know what that meant. I think it's a gun post, I'm not sure. And this, of course, is stamped with the anchor mark. It's stamped with the anchor mark on the actual strap there, which puts it in the Vietnam period. So I think from 1969 onwards, they began to be stamped with a P, which is, of course, the later war helmet. Anchor stamp, there we go, yes. Helmet cover is dated 1970. And the heat stamp on the inside of this helmet is very, very clear. It looks like a 1-6241. It might not be a 1 either side of it. That might just be some kind of bracket. A little bit of fun here. This is a genuine American worksite helmet. This belonged to my uncle. And recently we were watching Jurassic Park, and I saw that some of the workers there were wearing these helmets. So I thought, you know what? I've always liked this helmet anyway. Let's just make it Jurassic Park. I've made it Jurassic World. Not much to say about this apart from it was made in Los Angeles. I think it's pretty cool. Getting back to Los Angeles, we have a wartime civil defense helmet marked up for the police department. And there we go, quick spin round there. I don't think there's anything else I can say about that, really. US Civil Defense Police helmet, police department, no, nothing else I can say about that. Made by the McDonald Company, Los Angeles, not Ronald McDonald. And I love this. I love its uniqueness. A lot of the times you do see CD, civil defence, but I haven't really seen many police department ones. And another thing I do is I collect American police department helmets and hats, so that might be another video for some time. And very, very lastly, we have, now I love this mainly because, once again, an M1 American helmet, the woodland camouflage cover there. As you can see the difference here. Here's the one. They're very, very similar. Very, very similar woodland camouflages, but they're not the same if you look at them. So the reason I like this because it's the late war American. It's the late American helmet before they changed over to this version. This helmet itself dates from 1983, so this is the one that literally this one came directly afterwards. This was the last years of the M1 helmet, and the reason I kind of like this one is because it's the same helmet you see. I'm a big Ghostbusters fan as well, and at the end of Ghostbusters you see the American Army, and obviously when Venkman says, "What do you want from me?" and all the army charging towards the trucks to give them a convoy wearing these helmets with this pattern camouflage. I think some of them are probably wearing this pattern camouflage. I'm not sure if any of them are wearing the Vietnam pattern, not really sure. But I mainly love this helmet for this. I was going to recently get rid of this until I watched the end of Ghostbusters. I thought, oh, cool, okay, I'll keep that. And yeah, so this is dated 1983. And actually, the helmet is 1985 and the cover is 1983. There we go. How dare I? And a lot of these helmets, I stuff things on the inside, literally just to keep them, like flags and different helmet covers. And this I absolutely love. This is the cold weather helmet liner. Here we go. And I absolutely love this. This is the full caboodle if one is cold, or one was cold. Anyway, it's time to go. Thank you for watching. There's a lot of mess I've got to tidy up. Thank God I'm not a kid, because I won't get in trouble for it. Even though I'm probably acting like a kid wearing this helmet. Anyway, look after yourselves. Take care. See you soon. Woo! Ugh, what a lot of mess I've made. I can't even get out. This helmet's all over the floor.